Hi and welcome to the running channel. I'm Anna and welcome along on my long run. I thought I'd take you through every single step to do with long runs, so pacing, kit, fueling, you name it. But before we get started, I bet you thought the long run starts the minute you start your watch and walk out the door. Well, it kind of does, but actually we need to rewind to the day before for where preparations really start. So the first thing that I think about before I'm going to be doing my long run the next day is fueling. So what I'm eating in the days before my long run. So I'm marathon training at the moment, so this is an ideal time for it to act as a bit of a dress rehearsal for race day itself. So you might have heard of carb loading, so upping the amount of carbohydrates that you take in the lead up to your race. And so I will eat a carb-rich meal the night before my long run. So it's all down to personal taste, and what I might like for my dinner might not be for everyone. It's also down to dietary requirements and how your stomach reacts to certain foods too. For me, I've run a few marathons now and I know that what works for me is pasta, some pesto and some cheese. But the three main things to remember really are keep the portion size normal, don't overeat, and try and eat earlier rather than later. Hydration's another area for consideration the day before your long run too. So make sure you're keeping on top of how much water you're having during the day. And if it's a particularly hot day, you might even want to pop an electrolyte in your water too. Try and avoid caffeine and alcohol the day and night before your long run too. These act as diuretics, and so therefore they can have an effect on how hydrated you are and can also disrupt your sleep. So I always plot the route for my long run before I head out, because there is nothing worse than if you're aiming for a certain number of miles, the route coming up short and you have to do a load of laps around the block to make it up at the end, or it coming up too long and you haven't got the energy to finish it. So I'm using Garmin Connect to plot my route today, but there are loads of other apps and websites out there that you can use too. When I first started running, I'd plot my route and then write the directions in pen on my hand, which is not ideal when you get sweaty or rained on and they wipe off. But now that I've upgraded to my running watch, it means that I can send the route directly to it and follow the turn by turns while I'm out on a run, which is so handy. So just the last couple of pre-long run admin bits to do. Charge my tech and check the weather forecast so that I know what I'm going to wear. Remember to dress for 10 degrees warmer. Then I'll lay my kit out so I don't have to faff in the morning and get a good night's sleep. Night. I'm up an hour before I'm going to run so that I've got enough time for breakfast, get myself ready, and generally faff and procrastinate. Am I the only one that does that? I don't think I am. Tell me in the comments below that I'm not the only one who procrastinates before going out on a long run. I'm pretty lucky in the fact that I can just eat and run, but some people do need to take a little bit longer than I do. My go-to breakfast is a bagel with peanut butter, so a nice blend of carbs and protein packed full of energy for my run. Then I'll do a few light activations. So the run itself is quite a low intensity, slow long run, so the beginning of it will ease me nicely into the rest of the run. And stick around because we'll cover off stretches after the run. So I'll show you what to do after you've been on your long run too. Now the weather's been a bit gross here. It's a little bit cold, probably going to rain out on the run, but I'm still going to take some water with me, either 1 or 2 500ml soft flasks. And that's because even though I might not necessarily feel thirsty, you do still lose water when you sweat out on a run. And if I'm going to be out for a couple of hours, then you need to keep topping that up because it also helps with your recovery process afterwards as well. Right, finally time to run. Oh wait, hang on. No, I think I need a wee. I'm gonna go to the toilet. Right, no, you're not coming with me for this. No, I'll see you outside. Long run pace should be easy and conversational, so you should be able to have a chat whilst you're running at long run pace, unless of course you're throwing in some tougher miles, maybe some goal race pace miles in that run. So I was really shocked to learn when I first started running that long run pace can be anything from 30 seconds to 2 minutes per mile slower than your goal marathon pace. Don't run your long runs too fast. Now this definitely applies in earlier stages of marathon training, you might find that as you progress, you do want to do some more running at your goal marathon pace. The physical purpose of these long runs is to build your endurance and musculoskeletal strength. The mental purpose of these long runs is to get used to being out running for long periods of time. How long is long? Well, it really depends on what you're training for and also where you're at in your running journey as well. You don't want to just go out and knock out 20 miles when the furthest you've ever run is 10. In fact, there's some debate about how long a long run is. What do you reckon? Put it in the comments below. At an old running club, someone told me that a long run didn't count as a long run unless it was in double digits. Please. According to Jack Daniels, who's an Olympian and a running coach, he says that your long runs should be roughly 20 to 25% of your weekly volume. So, maths, if you're doing 40-mile weeks, that would equate to an 8 to 10 mile long run. In the Hanson's marathon method, you won't do a long run longer than 16 miles. And that's because the theory of that training plan is based on the fact that your legs are already fatigued and tired from the other training you've already been doing. And so because that volume of training has tired your legs out already, doing a 16-mile long run on top of that simulates how tired your legs would be at the end of the marathon. Make sense? On the Running Channel website, you can download our marathon training plan, and the longest run you'll do on that is 18 miles. So from all of that, I guess the main thing is don't get too caught up on numbers. There is no magical formula that says you must run X number of miles for your long run training. Just be sensible with it. If you can follow a good plan, then do. Fueling is super important on long runs. If this is the first time you've ever run this distance, you might not have considered that you actually need to think about taking fuel on your long run with you. So your body uses its glycogen stores as energy during your run, and as those stores become depleted, it runs low on energy. So you need to be topping them up while you're out on the run, because realistically our bodies can only store around an hour's worth of energy when it comes to running. Now, everyone is different, of course, but as a very basic rule of thumb, you should consider refueling, topping up those glycogen reserves every 30 to 45 minutes from when you first start running. It's potentially better to have a little bit extra stored away than hitting that dreaded wall. Whatever you end up doing, stick with the plan and make notes afterwards too about how you felt. You might potentially need to tweak things a little bit the next time you go out and run. If you've just found the Running Channel, then please hit subscribe and tap on the bell icon so you get notified when we upload new videos all about running, which we do every week. A lot of the long run can be as much of a mental barrier as it can be a physical one. If you're really deep into a training block like I am at the moment, you can start to question whether you're even going to be able to run a marathon if the long run that you're doing at the moment feels tougher, but it's shorter than a marathon distance. There are loads of little tips and tricks that I use when the going gets tough. Hopefully they'll be useful to you too. If there's anything that I've missed off, pop it in the comments, because you never know, it might help a fellow runner. So things like mantras and positive self-talk, they can be really powerful. A smile a mile is my personal favourite, so make sure, even if it's grim, even if it's raining, I'm smiling at least once every mile. maths, or maybe more specifically doing maths right, has never been a strong point of mine, but using numbers and maths to distract yourself in a long run can be super helpful. So figuring out how far you've got left or how long it's going to take, even converting miles into kilometers or vice versa, is a really good way to be able to tick off some running, because before you know it, you'll have already gone another mile and you won't even have realised because you're counting. After you've been out running for a while, you can get really tired and fatigued, and you might feel that your form starts to slip too. Maybe a hunch of the shoulders, a bit of a shuffle. If you've done a long run before, you might know what I mean. So I try every mile to do a form check. So check head, shoulders, knees, toes. How's everything feeling? Am I running in the most efficient form that I can? That's a really good way to get out of doing the hunch and potentially ending up a bit injured. So I am just coming to the end of my long run. It has been a wet one today. Thanks very much for coming along with me, but don't go anywhere. We haven't finished yet. Still got some run admin to do. I'll see you back at home. So now I'm home. It's so tempting just to go and lie on the sofa and have a nice long nap, but there is still some run admin to do. The first thing is refueling, super important. So my go-to is chocolate milkshake. So the balance of fluids, carbohydrate and protein is exactly what my body needs after a long run. So it's really important to refuel as soon as possible, and certainly within 30 minutes of finishing your run. Next up, stretching. You don't want to have achy muscles tomorrow, do you? So stretching is a super important part of coming back from your long run, and to have a really good idea of what to do, check out our video. You need to do this after every run. We've got a flow that you can follow along with some nice stretches. So now it's time to relax and unwind, and I like to use this time after my long run to reflect as well. Am I happy with my prep? Am I happy with my mental strategy? Did my fueling go well? But not only that, think about the wins as well and celebrate them, no matter how small they might feel to you. You've just done a massive thing by going out on a long run. So then, after the reflection period, it's the very, very important bit. Sleep, because that's where the best recovery happens. So that's it from my long run. Thanks so much for coming along with me. Have you got any questions about long runs, or have you got any advice for other people who are about to head out on theirs? Drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on the running channel. You say bye, Ralph. Good boy.